organization. So what that means, well, we shall find out shortly with Jonasz. Over to you.
Hello, you're watching TVP World Trends, and today we're going to discuss an anniversary. Something you might have not heard about, but here we are. We're going to introduce you to the mysterious lore of NAFO, the North Atlantic Fellas Organization. Now, you might be wondering, what is this dog doing behind my back? Why is it so wide? So many questions, so let me explain. This is from Kamakamelia, the man who created this meme. And see the date? The 16th of May, 2022. 2 years of tomfoolery. You're probably still in the dark as to what does it mean. Well, this is an internet phenomenon. It is connected to these fella avatars. They're actually based on the Shiba Inu dog, which has been later transposed into a meme, then into another meme, and finally, in this very wide form, it being introduced to Twitter. But the North Atlantic Fellas Organization is all about fighting Russian disinformation, fighting fake news, and helping Ukraine, also in raising money for the war effort. Now, if you're still thinking, well, this is some really weird mythical thing that you're probably just inventing here, or maybe it just exists only on social media, a small group of people, some sort of self-aggrandizing bunch of folks that basically thinking, oh, we're just so important and nobody really cares about it. That's not true. Let me show you the evidence. Let's take a glance now at exhibit number 1. So here it is, the Wall Street Journal. Ukraine's internet army of NAFO fellas fights Russian trolls and rewards donors with dogs. Not real dogs, mind you, the dog avatars, of course. Grassroots movement creates web avatars for contributors to pro-Ukraine causes and mocks posts that members consider Kremlin disinformation. And this was published back in 2022, September specifically. Some of the mainstream media were slow to recognize the existence of NAFO. Some were quicker off the mark, and we'll come back to that later. First, however, let's take a look at exhibit number 2, because we need a plurality of sources, right? So let's have it. And this is what they wrote. You know, don't blame me, this is Politico. This is what they wrote officially on their website. The shit-posting, Twitter trolling, dog-deploying social media army taking on Putin one meme at a time. And again, I did not write this article, never worked for Politico. This is what they wrote. Don't say that there are swear words appearing there, that there is profanity and there is some sort of big problem, to be perfectly honest. I mean, we're talking about an operation designed to counter Russian disinformation, and Russian disinformation is intended to facilitate war crimes. So what is it to actually use one swear word occasionally against being able to counter something like that? We really need to have a proportionate look at these things. Nevertheless, let's take a glance now at the next one. And this is interesting. It's going to serve as a diagram, fairly simple one at that, but a very telling one. So, see, NAFO-nomics. How does it work? How would you get a NAFO fella on Twitter? Well, make a payment to a worthy cause, such as United 24, the Georgian Legion. There are many charities helping Ukrainians, and voila, here is a fella waiting for you. So, of course, this seems simple enough. Some people also got honorary fellas without making donations, but when they were making statements supportive of Ukraine, they actually did get them. For example, I remember the former Belgian Prime Minister Guy Verhofstadt getting a fella after he stood against Russia on many occasions. Now, let's take a glance at a statement from the official account of the North Atlantic Fellas Organization. Here it is. Each fella is forged by hand by an amazing fella forger. Fellas are made with love and care in honor of those who have supported Ukraine. Please be sure to thank a forger today. So forgers form an indispensable part of the whole NAFO culture. They are people designing the fellas. They are taking requests. After they receive confirmation of a donation, they design the fella and later on provide this fella to the recipient. And of course, there is plenty of creativity involved. I will just show you 2 examples there, but there are literally thousands upon thousands, and you'll be easily able to find them online. So let's take a look at this. Some fairly recent examples there. Number 1, this guy flying on an ATACMS above a very well-known, albeit illegal landmark in the Kerch Strait, possibly with hostile intentions, and carrying the Muga hat. Now, the Muga hat is something else entirely. We've actually done a segment about that before. It's an internet phenomenon linked to NAFO. Make Ukraine great again. Believe it or not, the Muga hat actually came from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who made the mistake of doing this sort of political happening, creating this hat, but it was embraced by the online community against her wishes, and the rest is history. Let's take a look now at another one, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a Shiba, although the Shibas are the most popular, but you can get a cat. There is a NAFO cats division. You can get ferrets, such as this one. Oh, it looks cute, doesn't it? But it is carrying a baseball bat. It is known as a bonk stick in the jargon. It's designed to bonk the Vatniks, i.e. supporters of Russian propaganda. You know, so many slang words here, but this jargon really is something that, once you know it, it's a lot of fun, and it can be used for making memes aplenty. Let's take a glance now at the next one, shall we? And the next may seem familiar, right? Let me tell you this story. Okay, so what happened was we did a segment about NAFO fairly early on, as this topic was still becoming familiar to the media. Walter Stevenson, one of the NAFO foragers I told you about, created this fella for me after I made a donation, and also created this absolutely hilarious image from our old studio. NAFO expansion is non-negotiable, so that's one of the main hashtags that's used by NAFO, still very popular. And of course, you might be wondering about the hairstyle. It's my old hairstyle, but the fella is still there. If you ever see me on Twitter, you'll see it's not just me, but also my fella. Always united, right? Let's take a look now at the next. We are slowly approaching the end of this short summary because there are so many things to talk about with NAFO, including some really hilarious videos. Let's take a look now at this old classic, one of the first created on this topic.
Чтобы отец с тобой убежать под нашими ногами зимний шар. Между нами сегодня пожар. Но плевать, что вокруг метель. С поцелуями как будто карамель. Температура как в жарком Акапулько. Между нами теперь.
Look, so there's this little dance that they did, right? All the fellas dancing to this tune, but this is just one of the many videos of a similar kind. We might actually do a compilation of them at some point in the future. Hopefully we'll have a chance. But for the time being, let's take a look at the final part of this story. I mean, it's not final chronologically, but, you know, I've mentioned that some of the media were quicker off the mark than the others when it comes to introducing the topic of NAFO to the general public. Without further ado, let's take a glance at a segment that yours truly has prepared a long, long time ago here on TVP World.
Oh my God, what have I done? Got a brain like bubble gum, blowing up my cranium.
Hello, you're watching TVP World, and I'm your host, Jonasz Rewiński. So you may be wondering, what was this all about? A singing HIMARS and some Shiba Inu dogs? Well, let me explain. And as I mentioned, different hairstyle, different studio. Some things do evolve, just like Pokemon. Also, NAFO does the same. It is constantly adapting, constantly finding new ways of annoying Russian officials and Russian supporters online. It is a never-ending story, one which I hope to be reporting on countless times in the future. I believe that NAFO is not going to give up even after Ukraine wins the war. Hopefully that will come very shortly indeed, because we know that Russia is committing war crimes, and this is a serious part of this. Nevertheless, there will always be fake news. There will always be dictators and autocrats. And I think that NAFO's mission will never actually be done. Watch this space. And with this, we end this segment. And now we're going back to Sally and Ashim as our program continues.
Thanks for that, Jonasz.
That was fascinating.
That
So
was fascinating.
just let me ask you. So, I mean,
course.
I can still get a fella. I mean, how do I go about it?
Of course. I mean, normally what you get is like, if you make a donation, then you produce a receipt. Of course, you erase any of the sensitive data, and then you can actually make a forger request. It's called a fella request, basically, right? This is what happens. In my case, it was slightly different because I think I actually did get my fella after I did the segment. Then I made a donation because I wanted, to be
I
among
would be
the...
happy to buy one as long as it's a cat. I mean, I want to go with a cat.
Of course you can. I mean, you can even actually, in your request, provide a picture of the cat and say, look, that's the one. Can you create one that is a presenter, but also a cat and, willing to fight for the just cause? I think they will be very much willing to oblige.
I'm sure they would. Now I realise why you've got a dog print on your tie, Jonasz.
I do.
Yes.
Actually, I do. I'm not
Yes.
sure if it's visible in the close-up, but that was not an entirely unconscious choice, I should probably say.
Well, I
it's
guess
not,
that.
It's not official NAFO merchandise or anything, although the NAFO merchandise does exist. It is a thing. Of course, there are probably some rules on advertising, so I will stop at that, but let me just say that it is out there somewhere.
Somewhere in the ether. Well, I feel educated now after that. Thank you for laying that out for us.
You're most welcome.
Thanks.
Well, I'm certainly getting 2 cats because I have 2 cats at home, so I'll have to
Two
get
cats
2
now.
fellas, right? And now I guess we're gonna take a
Now
break.
we're going to have we're going to take a short break.